An extraordinary rendition of the waterboarding song by Andy Wedd, sent in by his son Jonathan. We encourage you to send in your music as well to Democracy Now! Mail at democracynow.org. Andy, I hope you are feeling better, and thank you for the music. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez as we continue our series 1968, 40 years later. Juan?
It was a light comment in the Hardball College tour at Westchester University in Pennsylvania yesterday. Host Chris Matthews poked fun at Barack Obama's bowling abilities after the Democratic presidential candidate scored a very low 37 points at a recent campaign stop.
One of the perks, Senator, of being President of the United States is that you have your own bowling alley. Are you ready to bowl from day one?
Obviously, I am not. But I figure there might be some bowlers here at Westchester.
While jokes are being made of Obama's bowling skills, 40 years ago, it was not easy for a black man to even enter some bowling alleys in the country. In fact, in South Carolina, it led to a confrontation between black students and police that became known as the Orangeburg Massacre. It was February 8th, 1968. A crowd of students gathered on the campus of South Carolina State University to protest segregation at Orangeburg's only bowling alley. Dozens of police arrived on the scene, and the students lit a bonfire on a street in front of the campus. Tensions escalated, and police officers opened fire into the crowd. When the shooting stopped, 3 students were dead and 27 wounded. The 3 killed were Samuel Hammond, Delano Middleton, and Henry Smith. Although the tragedy predated the Kent State shootings and Jackson State killings, and it was the first of its kind on any American college campus, it received little national media coverage. Here are some of the survivors of the Orangeburg Massacre remembering that fateful day. This video was produced by Dr. Jack Bass in 2003. It begins with Robert Lee Davis.
It was a barrage of shots, and like I said, it was maybe 6 or 7 seconds. Boom, 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 boom. The students was hollering, yelling, and running. So by this time, I went into a slope right near the campus, where the front end of the campus, and I kneeled down. I got up to run, and I took 1 step. That's all I could remember. I took that 1 step, I got hit in the back. When I got hit in the back, this is when I got paralyzed. Students was tramping over me because they was afraid.
And I dropped to the ground immediately, instinctively. I dropped to the ground. And within a second, within 2 or 3 seconds, I began to hear rounds going past my ears. I felt my coat like it was being, somebody was trying to pull it off, you know, with what it really was rounds hitting my coat. And then I got hit. Prior to being hit, prior to being hit, I heard some people started yelling. In fact, I remember hearing somebody laugh just before we realized we were being shot at. We thought they were shooting in the air. It entered right here and just missed my spine. I didn't see much bleeding. I remember running, getting up and moving. I think the coat that I had on probably formed probably as a compressed, maybe. I don't know. I had a large overcoat on. I remember asking him, I said, "Joe, can you see? Am I just nicked?" You know, I was hoping that I just got grazed, you know. And he said, "No, look like, you know, there's a hole there, Jordan." I said, "Oh, golly." You know, and we got onto the infirmary, and there was blood all over the place. I mean, people were lying around, yelling and screaming, and the poor nurse on duty, she was a mess. She, you know, I mean, she had never seen anything like that. It was worse than any combat situation. It was, let's put it this way, it was probably equivalent to a combat situation in war. The official count was 27. Plus 3, actually 30. 30. 3 died, 27 injured.
I remember getting shot in my face and being spun around, and instinct said, you got to get out of here, you got to go for safety. And the only thing I could think of was get into the infirmary.
Just so happened, there was a trash can in front of me. I was on a pretty good coverage there of that trash can, see, but the trash can had some legs under it. And that's how I got shot in the hip. The bullet come under the leg. Under the trash can, it caught me in the hip. And under the trash can, it caught me in the leg. If it wasn't for the trash can, I probably would have been dead. If I would have stood up, I would have been dead. But I had enough courage to stay there for at least 45 seconds after the shooting. And folks were running all across me, crying and shooting. Some of them was crawling. And I realized they just ceased fire. That's when I got up and ran to the infirmary. When I got to the infirmary, my best friend Sam, which is dead now, the one that they killed, he was laying in the middle of the floor, just trying to grasp for air. And at that particular point, I didn't even know I was shot. See, I crossed my leg in the infirmary. I saw a little red spot on my pants. And I realized right then that I've been hit down there. And by sitting down, watching Sam in motion myself, when I stood up, reached back there, I had a big apple back there. I didn't realize I got shot in the hip neither, see. I got shot in the hip. The whole muscle was just like big as a big fist. And I realized I got shot in the hip, I got shot twice.
He took me to the school infirmary, and from there I laid on the floor on a mattress. At this time, Sam Hammond, we was laying head to head by each other. And the last thing I could remember Sam said, they used to call me Big Dooley because I was playing football at this time. I was weighing about 260. And this is when Sam asked me, he said, Dooley, you think I'm gonna live? I say, Sam, you're gonna be all right, buddy. And next time I look over there, he was dead. I took my hand and put over his face like this to close his eyes because he died with his eyes open.
Robert Lee Davis and other survivors of the Orangeburg Massacre in South Carolina. The 9 officers who opened fire that day were all acquitted. The only person convicted of wrongdoing was one of the students. Cleveland Sellers, member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, known as SNCC, was one of the organizers of the protest, convicted of a riot charge, spent 7 months behind bars. Dr. Cleveland Sellers is now the director of the African American Studies program at the University of South Carolina and joins us now on the phone from Denmark, South Carolina, where he lives. Welcome to Democracy Now! Cleveland Sellers, take us back 40 years.
Thank you for having me here. I can almost remember that period of time as if it were today. It was a cold night on February 8, 1968, and the students were, this was the 4th day of activities around the effort to desegregate the bowling alley, and it was at night. And we're talking about 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. The students had built a bonfire to keep themselves warm and, you know, just build morale. They were trying to work out some strategy. What should they do next? Should they go back to the bowling alley where they had been arrested on Tuesday night? Should they go to the city hall? Should they go to the state capitol? And they thought that they were in an area that was pretty safe and secure. And they never expected the police to open fire. And it so happened that